Hey guys, welcome to another episode of SEO on Air. Imagine you wrote the most amazing content in the world. It's the content that everyone should read. You publish it on your blog and voila, nothing happens. Search engines don't pick it up and you end up wondering what's going on. Well, you can build the best content or best link out there to beat your competition, but without proper technical SEO, Googlebot won't be able to find your post unless you get your settings right. So the lesson number one in SEO should always be ensuring crawlability and indexability. Now, to discuss more about this topic, we have Mr. Francois Gobe. We call him as Frank, the CEO of OnCrawl.com, the most reliable SEO data platform. Frank, welcome to our show.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
Great. I'm so sorry, Frank, that I pronounced your name wrongly. Can you tell us how to pronounce your name right?
Yeah, I'm François Goub. Yeah, it's
Right.
A very French name. You can't
Perfect.
be more French as a name.
Nice, nice. So from France, we've got the best product for crawling and indexing for technical SEO. Typically, it's good for especially for enterprises. Now, guys, to give a quick intro about Frank. So Frank, so he built this tool on crawl, which is used by over hundreds of customers worldwide, typically enterprise customers. So I would rather let Frank introduce this tool. Frank, can you share with us more details
Yeah,
about OnCrawl?
yeah, sure. So OnCrawl is what you can call an SEO data platform dedicated to technical SEO. So basically, it's built on top of a crawler.
Mm-hmm.
We have a crawler that can crawl up to hundreds of millions of pages. We can enable JavaScript crawling as well. And with the crawler, we are trying to see your website with Google's eyes, so that we are computing scores like the in rank, which is the internal popularity of a page. So we can map your overall internal linking structure. We're
Right.
analyzing your content. We are the only one in the world to have a near duplicates detector. So we have like 500 metrics regarding the crawl reports that we are building
Mm-hmm.
when you push the button and that you crawl your website. And the second part is a log analyzer. So we retrieve the logs from our customers. And within a log file, there is always a track record of what bots have been doing on your website. So we retrieve from your logs all the hits from Google bots, for instance. And then we are able to tell you what pages are considered as valuable in Google's eyes.
Right.
And we built that data platform where you can connect your analytics data, your backlinks data, your CRM data, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
each time you're adding a data source, you get another layer of analysis.
Right.
So we are trying to ease the process for every SEO out there to
Mm-hmm.
compute a massive amount of data. If your website, if you're an e-commerce vendor and your website is like 100K pages or 1 million pages,
Right.
it's very hard to have an exhaustive overview of how your website behaves
Yep.
regarding crawlability, and if you have duplicates somewhere, it's very hard to do it hand by hand. So you need to jump to a cloud-based solution like OnCrawl.
Right.
So we try to ease the process and to help you with our data explorer. That is, every SEO have been crunching data through a spreadsheet, doing some weird VLOOKUPs
Yep.
to try and find
And a lot
some
of scripts as well
yeah.
attached to it.
And so we try to build that data explorer for you to have the data at your fingertips. And we are on a mission to help people get the most of that kind of technology that was previously reserved to enterprises and very big company. So
Right.
now everybody can access it.
Awesome. Frank, I have nearly 3 to 4 big questions for you. I was just
Yeah.
waiting for the show. I was waiting for this for a while to ask you this. So, log files, like you mentioned, log file as one of the main features at OnCrawl. Now, first of all, how important is a log file for SEOs?
Well, if you get back to the early days of the web, and if you are looking at the webmaster forums and some archives, you will see that tons of webmasters were looking at their log files because it was the only source of data
Right.
regarding the traffic and stuff like that. So
Yep.
it's very, very funny to see that it's a coming back of the log file analysis.
Yeah.
And it's very important because you have everything in your logs. Each time someone is clicking on a link, you've got a record within your log files. Every time Google is hitting your
Right.
website, you know what they are doing.
Hello,
Um,
Frank.
yeah,
Can you hear us?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure,
Okay.
sure.
Great. Yeah.
Um,
So like you mentioned, like you mentioned that all the clicks, all the transactions, everything is available from the log file. Now, what are the critical factors that usually on-crawl checks while doing such log file analysis?
Well, one of the main thing that is affecting all websites is orphan pages. An orphan page is a page that is not linked from your internal linking structure, so
Right.
that the page don't get any popularity. It can be, you're an e-commerce vendor, you've got that product that is out of stock. So you've got this rule in your content management system that tells your website, okay, unlink that product page. But Google remember that page. So he's still hitting that page, but you are not sending any popularity to that page anymore. So
Right.
chances are that page won't be ranking, and you're still consuming crawl budget. The crawl budget is the amount of resources that
Yep.
Google is giving, is allowing his servers to crawl your website. And
Hmm.
so you're consuming your crawl budget wrong, because obviously if that page is not linked from your internal linking structure, that page is not valuable for your business. So you are shooting yourself in the feet if you keep having a growing list of orphan pages. So mainly when you are comparing your crawl data and your logs data, you can spot your orphan page and you can correct them, you can redirect them, you can relink them. There are many tactics, but this way you are saving your crawl budget and you are driving Google to the right pages. This is the main answer I'll give you regarding log file analysis.
Log files. Right.
And this is very important because as soon as let's say we are seeing website with like a website with 100K pages that have
Hmm.
another 100K orphan pages. When you're looking at situation like this, when you're correcting your offense, then you're doubling your crawl budget on your main website, on your
Right.
money pages. So in like with a few redirects or a rule in your robots.txt, you can completely change the game and get results like within 2 or 3 weeks and get like plus 30% of traffic, stuff like that. We've seen gigantic growth for people that have tackled their offense.
Awesome. So typically, like mentioned, the log file, it's like highly important because it's not just about analyzing a bunch of data on there, but also it indirectly helps you to look at the crawl budget being spent by Google, and also optimize your main pages, and especially look at these orphan pages and ensure that the bot is not spending or wasting its time on the unwanted pages. So this is quite great, and this is available right out of the box, right? So on the on-crawl tool.
Yeah, sure. As soon as you have plugged your logs and that you have pushed the button to crawl your website, then you get
Mm-hmm.
the list, you get an analysis on your offense. And
Right.
we try to do something that is, I believe, very valuable for SEOs. That we have a little tool within OnCrawl, which is a segmentation tool, where you can map your website. You can tell, okay, these are my product pages, these are my category pages, these are my blog pages, stuff like that. And this way, you can have particular strategy for a particular zone of your website. It's not a one-size-fits-all strategy when you're doing SEO. So you need to zoom in and zoom out from particular zones of your website and build particular strategy for each of your parts.
Perfect. Cool. Now, few months back, I think once this Web Vitals was introduced by Google, we know that the next 2 years is going to be a game of technical SEOs. So OnCrawl has this feature that checks the average load speed of a site, and since now this Web Vitals has become a talking point in the SEO industry, so how can a website achieve that perfect load time score that you guys recommend?
Well, from our experience, and currently we are monitoring like more than 1,000 websites worldwide. It looks like when Google is accessing the DOM of a page, when the DOM is loading below 500 milliseconds, you are doing it right. But then we believe that Google is checking the rendering of a page, and they're using the usage metrics that they get, the conversion rates within the SERPs, the bounce rate that they get. And we believe that this is a mix between the payload and the usage metrics that they are using. So you need to be very careful having a payload that is very light, and check on a daily basis your usage metrics, because there might be a poor experience for users, and that might impact your SEO in the long run, because Google is using more and more of these usage metrics. And the second part of the answer is all about JavaScript. The JavaScript development has been very fancy over the last 3 years, and I believe that Google and Bing, they're pissed off with JavaScript. JavaScript is a new Flash. It's very hard for a search engine to index JavaScript. For you to know, we are crawling with JavaScript as well, and it cost us like 10 times the cost of a regular crawl. And
no wonder they're hating it.
So yeah, we made that study 1 year back around how often Google is enabling JavaScript crawling. And what we saw is that Google was only hitting the website like every 3 weeks with their JavaScript crawler. So think about this in terms of indexability, think about this in terms of freshness of the indexation, and be very careful about the rendering time of your website, because the DOM can load like in under 500 milliseconds, but the rendering can load in like 10 seconds. So you should look at both metrics.
Absolutely. I think this is quite common in the online travel portals, because they used to pull data from, they have these JavaScript based results when people filter out their locations, and it really takes a long time to load the results. And this is probably could be one of the reasons for the travel sites to perform poorly, right?
Yeah, right. You're totally right.
Great. So now moving on to the content perspective, because since we touched upon the crawl budget optimization, and yes, looking at the log file, looking at decreasing the amount of orphan pages is quite important. Now, there's also one pain point that raises among, especially on the e-commerce stores, the problem of duplicate content, right? So most of the time, duplicate content, it just it appears totally out of the blue, and the website owners, they may not be aware of it until they see a significant drop in rankings. So however, your tool has a feature to help webmasters resolve these duplicate content issues. Now, so from your perspective, like, how can website owners fix this issue before Google takes a note of it?
Well, I think there are two main points. The first
Mhm.
one is when you're looking at your most powerful pages. I mean, the pages that are ranking very well, generating traffic and conversions. You should look at the common characteristics of those pages. And in terms of
Right.
content, look at the volume of content written on those pages.
Mhm.
Then you will have like an average target in terms of volume of content. So when it comes to building a content strategy, you know how many words you need to add to a particular page. And you know, sometimes you just need like 100 words or 200 words, and having another 200 words is not efficient. So
Right.
having that in mind, you can build a very good content strategy in terms of what the volume I need to reach for each of my product pages, for instance. So this is the
Mhm.
first part of the answer, and the second part is all about near duplicates. So what we've built, we relied on a scientific paper published by Googlers a few years back. We are computing like a fingerprint for each page. And then we compare each fingerprint so that we can group pages with very similar content. And
Right.
we are evaluating the similarity ratio between those pages. And the main thing is all about understanding for your website or your industry, what's the threshold in terms of similarity that you can have on your website. And not all websites are born equal. If you're a real estate website, you know, it's very hard for people to write unique and original content for a
Yep.
flat in Bangalore.
Right.
But if you're niche e-commerce players, then you can build original content and very unique content. So Google
Right.
is understanding that. So the threshold may vary from an industry to another.
Mhm.
So this is something to keep in mind. And
Right.
then once you have understand what's the similarity ratio that is acceptable, you can rely on that to set up rules for your e-commerce website. For instance, let's say you are selling iPhone cases. You can have
Mhm.
like a million returns of iPhone cases, right?
Right.
So what's the value of letting another product page about iPhone case to be indexed by Google? Does it is it adding a value to your website or to your SEO? And you can rely on the similarity ratio to set up rules with for your canonicals, for your meta robots, or your robots.txt. And this is something people should understand. And I believe the maturity on that kind of topic is very low now.
Right.
So people should care about this and understand that Google is trying to address that kind of issues with algorithms and think about how algorithms are working. So
Mhm.
they rely on keywords, on a fingerprint on the content, and they are trying to map the web. This is their job. So for each industry, they are understanding what are the good practices in terms of content, and then you can deduct that kind of good practices for your website. So
Right.
this is the way I believe people are doing a great job now when they rely on that kind of tactics.
Great. Great points, Frank. Yeah. So now since we have centered our conversation around the scroll budget stuff, right? So we have discussed about the log files and also how we can optimize these pages to ensure that the crawl rate could be increased, and also the duplicate content issues that could be fixed. You mentioned two different ways of doing that. Now, coming to the third question which I have centered around this, the sitemaps. Now, sitemap is an essential SEO requirement, obviously, no denying it. But still, some of the websites, they don't add it to their site. But yes, but the main core of this question will be something different. Now, how do we add? I mean, is it like required that we include all the pages of a website in the sitemap, or only include pages that really matter? And also, does this means that the low priority pages that results in the wastage of the crawl budget?
Well, this is a tough question. It's funny because John Mueller, there has been a little chat about sitemaps, like
Mhm.
last something like that, yeah, on Twitter.
Mhm.
I believe that a very well-built website does not need any sitemap.
Mhm.
Because if you focus on the crawlability, the way your internal linking structure is optimized, you don't need it.
Right.
But the sometimes you're an e-commerce vendor, you have the spring and summer collection coming. You need to have them indexed very, very fast.
Right.
So adding them in your sitemap can help you get them indexed quickly.
Right.
And so I believe that all the Monet pages, all the main nodes of links in your internal linking structure should be used in your and they should be displayed within your sitemaps. But I won't. We saw tons of mistakes when people are automatically updating their sitemaps.xml on a daily basis, for instance. People should keep their hands and keep an eye on what's in their sitemaps, because we saw tons of people generating offense thanks to their sitemaps, because people are not caring anymore about their internal linking structure, because they are thinking that as soon as the pages are in the sitemap, it will get indexed, which is true, but you're not sending any popularity if there is no link pointing to those pages. So it's very, very tricky. And I believe people should have a sitemap XML strategy and keep an eye on it. We have a particular report within our crawl reports regarding sitemaps, especially for that kind of issues. But having your sitemaps on autopilot, thanks to an automation within your content management system, I believe that's not a good idea. You should
Right.
take it on a regular basis.
Okay, great. So yeah, and these are the basic tech questions which we had, Frank. Now coming to the last question, like that we had in our mind. So we understand that you're passionate about helping the startups, and but it's not easy for startups to compete with the big boys, especially in the organic results. Now you've crawled hundreds and thousands of sites, you've seen a lot of stuff, and you've learned a lot of technical stuff on that route. Now, what would be your suggestions, for startup owners to succeed in this, getting their site more organic traction?
Well, when people are building startups, there is always a geek inside the team. So
Mm-hmm.
they should have their technical SEO perfectly set up,
Mm-hmm.
because of the fact that there are engineers, obviously at the start of a company like that. They should focus on technical SEO, because when you're doing it right, you don't need tons of backlinks to rank, especially if you're in
Right.
if you're in a niche. But I believe that with PR, some great content marketing, some great lead nurturing, startups can tackle big markets and play hard with big competitors, no matter the size of the company.
Right.
But they should have their technical SEO built right. If they're not doing that, they are shooting themselves in the feet, and in the long run, they will accumulate like what I call the SEO debt,
Right.
orphans and previous version of
Love
what.
that terminology, by the way, SEO
Yeah.
debt.
This is something very interesting that I was chatting with some other SEOs. I believe that for startups, having an SEO guy at the start of a company is a very, very good idea, because
Right.
SEOs, they know marketing, they know how to analyze the market because they're used to do some keyword research.
Yep.
And they know how to deal with engineers because an SEO guy, he's used to write specification, functional specification. He knows how to deal with project management as well. They are thinking long term because of the fact that when you're setting up your SEO action, you have to wait a few days, weeks, months to get results. So I believe that the SEO mindset is key factor to the success of a startup. So people building startups, they should partner with SEO guys, and
Perfect.
everything will be fine.
Awesome. Great. Well, that sums up the discussion. It was a great conversation. We learned a lot from you, Frank. Thank you so much for patiently answering all the questions. You did pretty well. We enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. And if people have questions, you can reach me out at OnCrawl on Twitter, or send an email to hello@oncrawl.com, and I'll be happy to help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So people, if you have any questions or any comments, feel free to suggest us. So we'll be giving a link to Frank's email address as well as his LinkedIn profile. Feel free, and also to his Twitter profile. Feel free to reach out to him if you have any questions about OnCrawl. And so feel free also to send us suggestions of how to improve this show. You guys know that we bring the best people out there and ask them the toughest questions that's there in our minds. And today's conversation was really technical. So in case if you guys feel it was too technical, don't worry about it. But the thing is, like Frank mentioned, if you're a startup, even you're investing on your content and all the other things, ensure that the technical SEO is properly done. That's the main aim for us in this show, to let you know about the importance of doing technical SEO. You can feel free to check out the tool OnCrawl. We'll be linking out to the tool as well. By the way, we are not affiliated to OnCrawl by any way. We are just trying to help the community find the best tools to use for this. And thank you so much, guys, for listening to the show. Frank, thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Cheers.